Hey there, Airman. Welcome to the second episode of the ZGS podcast. It's been a minute since you've heard our nerdy voices, but we're back and we've got a jam-packed episode for you. Big shout out to everyone who sent in their questions. Here's what's on deck today. First up, weapon refine system planning and implementation. We'll talk about how it all came together and what it means for your arsenal. Then, campaigns, how refined weapons measure up and what's coming in the story ahead. We'll get into leaderboards and rewards, what's changing, and finally, a little classified intel, a peek at some fresh experiences on the horizon. And joining me for all this, you already know Mike, our game designer, and Nick, our senior engineer. But we've also got two new voices in the mix, Mark, our game designer, and Sophie, our art department lead. Welcome aboard. Say hi to the community.
Hello.
Hi there.
Okay, I think everybody said hi. Before we jump into the big topics, how's everyone feeling about being here today? Who had the most coffee today?
I think I did. I'm on my fifth one today already. So,
okay, so you're psyched, you're hyped for today's podcast.
Yeah. Yes, I am, and a little nervous, to be honest. It's my first time ever being on a podcast, so this is a new experience for me. But here I am. Let's do this.
I'm sure you will have a really nice experience with us, right, boys? How are you feeling?
Yeah, zero coffee for me.
Yeah, tied with you there.
Yeah, why go coffee when you can go tea? So yeah.
Okay, so what kind of tea are you drinking? Like green tea
Yeah,
to
green
compensate?
tea. Yeah, just something good for your health. So yeah, why not?
All right.
I think team water is the best.
Yeah, agreed.
Boo!
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, my secret passion is also coffee. I have to drink like not 6 or 5 coffees a day, but at least three cup of coffees.
Yeah, and also water can kill you. Do you know that? Like too much and you just drown in it. So why do that?
Oh well, it's a risk I'm willing to take, I guess.
Nice.
All right. Now that we've discussed our healthy life solutions and habits, let's go straight into the podcast. And I want to kick off with the weapon refine system planning and implementation, which is a huge feature for the game. And the players are curious, how did the planning and rollout actually go behind the scenes? I think, Nick, you're here the master of disaster.
Yeah, so somehow I ended up sort of leading this feature, not in official terms, as in I wasn't the one doing the documentation or things like that, but I ended up supervising a lot of the things to check that everything was in order. And I can tell you it took quite a long time to get everything right, down to the UI, the interaction in the game. I guess the numbers Mike can probably pitch in there. And there was a lot of polish involved. So I think most of the work was polish because we had the main system down, but then all the details weren't right. It didn't feel right. But yeah, with a lot of work, we got there. I don't know. It was a lot of work on all sides. We had a lot of back and forth with the art, as Sophie can probably also tell you. Yeah, there were also a lot of bugs. We had to check a lot of things. QA checked. We also checked. I think everyone checked.
Everyone checked.
Yeah. So I guess it was basically an effort of the whole team. We wanted to make something that, I don't know, was useful to the players that had duplicate weapons. I guess that's where it all started. So yeah, I don't know. Mike, maybe you can add some stuff as well.
Yeah, sure. That's definitely where it started. The problem of owning multiple copies of the same weapon seemed like an issue for our most involved players. So we had to fix that in some way. And it was a lot of work. There is still some work to be done. As you're aware, some weapons still need refining to be completed.
Just wanted to add something there. There was also a lot of systems that we remade for it, as I'm sure the players know, but yeah, I just wanted to tell you that we wanted to sort of unblock for perhaps future updates, and yeah, that was also something that took a lot of time. Basically, there was a lot of old legacy code, and we tried to make sense of it and make it more up to date.
A lot of players also wonder how these perks are decided from concept to finished weapon when it comes to this when it comes to refining. What goes into choosing the perks and stats we actually see in the game on the refined weapon? Mike?
Well, basically, the most important perks are the Mark III and Mark VI. So I go from there first. I look at what the weapon does that's different from the rest. That applies to prototypes mainly and now tier 5 weapons.
And do these, when it comes to the 6 refinement steps, especially for prototypes, do those base stats shift or scale in any special way?
Sometimes the 6th step scales significantly depending on the prototype. For example, the Orion has something very special at 6 compared to other weapons like the Blight Zone, which has just +3 rockets, which is very powerful, of course, but doesn't really change the mechanic all that much. As for the in-between refinements, I just try to pick what the weapon could use more. Reload, staple 10% damage, or maybe an radius, and things like that. I generally try to keep everything in a similar power, regardless of the weapon tier. So basically 50% for a prototype will be way stronger by default than it is for a non-prototype.
Another hot topic, some weapons are still with the placeholder +7% damage. When can players expect to see those final perks come through? Mike?
I'm still working on the timeline for this. Ideally, I can finish them all in this year, but in the next update, you can expect to see all the tier 7 weapons completed. And next up will be the tier 6, and lastly, the few remaining tier 4s. So yeah, ideally, we'll be done by December with this.
That sounds great. So we can expect some new perks to replace this placeholder +7% damage. One of the big questions from the community is, how does Flaregames feel about the weapon refinement system now that it's out in the wild? Do you see a success so far? I think, Mark, you're the most suited to answer these questions. Am I right or am I wrong?
Okay, so for us, it looks like a great success, actually. So we see that the players are engaging with the system that we hoped they would be. So we thought about how do we fill that gap for new players or players that are somewhat stuck having lower tier weapons that basically they feel like they cannot reach the height of players that are using much better weapons. So the fact that we are adding this refinement system means that they'll be using duplicates for lower tier weapons and improving them. And basically this should allow them to fill that gap. Maybe not entirely, but it's a progression system. So we feel like the refinement system brought a lot of positive things to the community. Let's ask Sophie also about this. How do you feel about the refinement system?
I think the feature was successful from my point of view. I mean, I'm not very, let's say, tech savvy when it comes to this, but I feel like it did fill a gap, like you said before. So yeah, successful.
Great success is the buzzword. I'm going to circle back to you, Mike. The community is curious because before the weapon refined system, weapons sometimes got direct buffs or revisions. Now that refinement is in place, should they still expect those kind of updates also on these perks, on the refinements or buffs in the far future, I would say?
I figured they'd be curious, and the answer is yes. I will try to buff or revise some of the older weapons, and I already did so when I looked at the refinement paths, especially for the tier 7, I mean. And when I get to tier 6, I'll probably adjust a couple of them along with making their refined paths. And afterwards, it depends how they perform, how many people actually put them to use. But the answer overall is yes, I'll try to sometimes keep buffing these as long as they remain within their respective tier of power, of course.
And of course, Riley is the woman behind all these refinements. And there's a curious question from one of our community member. What actually happens to all the weapons we feed into refinement? Does Riley recycle them, break them down for parts, or maybe she keeps a secret stash for the weekend? I think Sophie, you know the whereabouts of Riley.
I know the whereabouts, but she doesn't tell me a lot of stuff. I mean, she's pretty secretive about her work. So when I ask her things, she usually just smirks at me. But I did hear her talk about troop weapons a lot, so who knows?
Definitely, Riley's become a fan favorite. Can you walk us, Sophie, walk us through how she was designed, what inspired her look and personality, and were there any fun challenges along the way?
Riley was a team effort, actually. We pretty much all of us here in this podcast, we put our heads together and we came up with Riley. As far as looks are concerned, I wanted her to be a bit softer. She has this blonde hair, she has this messy bun, and those doughy eyes, right? I think it's a good clash against the harsh post-apocalyptic world she lives in. I added a little nod to the mechanic on her t-shirt. She has the same print as the mechanic has on his, since Riley's his protege. For me personally, designing Riley was a lot of fun. I mean, we have a lot of well-established characters in ZGS, and this was an opportunity to come up with something fresh, with a totally new character. So yeah, for me as an artist, this was an awesome opportunity, and I had a lot of fun with it. And I think the guys could also add a bit about this. Nick?
Me and Mark, we also sort of brainstormed about her backstory and how she ended up working here as one of the main weapon improvement characters, let's say. Alongside the mechanic, we sort of came up with something. I don't think we shared all of it, and I'm not sure if we will just now, because it's nicer to keep it more hidden and maybe reveal it. Well, we'll think about it in other ways maybe. But yeah, I think that was a fun part. Was it fun for you, Mark?
Don't know if I should say this, but basically the first iteration of Riley was the mechanic. So all the functional fakes for the menu entries and how will the interface look to refine your weapon, basically they were featuring the mechanic, because we know the mechanic is the main guy that is in charge of improving the weapons. But at some point we ask ourselves, maybe isn't it this the moment that we could add a fresh character to the story, to the universe? I mean, someone that is tinkering and basically thinking a bit ahead on the systems and trying to figure out something new, because the mechanic he's in charge with the main tasks. But maybe one of the mechanic's proteges would be the one that basically breaks the mold and comes up with something fresh. So yeah, this is how basically Riley came to be.
Yeah, and it's also maybe a different association since I think most people think of the mechanic more in the prototype direction, so maybe we can have someone else deal with just improving the weapons as they are, as opposed to creating completely new and crazy versions of them.
It was also a good opportunity to bring a female character to the game. I mean, we have one, but that's about it. So,
And both women are strong characters, and ZGS definitely needs strong characters in the game. With Riley, Weapon Refine System, it brought a whole new interface. Can you tell us about the creative process behind designing the look and feel of it? Were there any cool ideas that didn't make the final cut? Mark, Nick, you can tell us more about the behind the scenes designing process of the whole interface.
So yeah, about the interface. So initially, it was a much more old school, old style look for the interface. And basically during a brainstorm with Nick, because he's the guy that needs to implement all of those crazy things. So it needs to be basically brought up and discussed before. So during that brainstorm, Nick proposed to have a different interface altogether. So basically this is how we ended up with a more fresh look for the weapon refinement system. And I feel like this is the best approach overall. And it's also one of my, I don't know, main takeaways when designing a new feature. Basically make it look fresh. So I feel like for a lot of new features, we kind of stayed with the current interface, having the legacy functionality, trying not to stray too much away from the old template. And I think the weapon refinement system was basically the best way when trying to break this mold. I mean, come up with something new because it's a new system. We have a new character, so why not have a new interface? There were a lot of discussions internally about this because some people thought about, we're doing, too many new things at once. Maybe it's not good for the players. They will not receive it well. But I think overall it was the correct decision and we're quite happy with it. And about cool ideas that didn't make in, not sure there were a lot because the best ideas basically made it in. So, but if we're talking about ideas and trying to come up with something new, I think Nick can basically talk more about this. Nick?
Yeah, so since we started about the interface, I just want to say that I'm excited that we sort of brought back the old stars. So we had the golden sort of stars before we went to the green with the number. So that was a long time ago, and now we brought back the golden stars, but we also included silver. So yeah, it's sort of a mix of new and old. So I'm glad we brought back some of the old, but also made it new. I guess no one mentioned this, but I think we also did a lot of quality of life stuff. So one thing I'm particularly excited about whenever I think about it, it's the locking system. I think players really wanted this for a long time, so I'm glad we did that. And also, in terms of interface, we brought the 3D version of the weapon inside the main menu as opposed to hidden under a button. So I think that was also a great improvement. So we did a lot of things, but basically we tried to freshen up the game, I think. Make it look more modern and just generally unblock the code there so that we could maybe improve it further later.
Sophie, I think you also had some iterations. Yeah, iterations is the word. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot of mock-ups. I think I have over 30 versions The stars, weirdly enough, turned out to be, okay, it's an exaggeration, but like the bane of my existence for that period of time. We had a lot of back and forth on the color of the stars. So yeah, it was tiring, I won't lie, but it was also rewarding. And I think we worked really well as a team on this feature. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
All right, let's get to the next subject on our agenda, weapon refinement system and new campaigns. Something players debate a lot with refined weapons being strong with new perks. Are campaigns at risk of becoming too easy? Will we see adjustments in missions to balance that out? Mike or Mark, what's your take on this?
So overall, during the campaign progression, there's always gonna be an easy way out. We're not really concerned with the missions that are in the game right now. We are looking to wrap up the campaign 17 with its final 3 missions, and afterwards we'll be working on the campaign 18. Ideally this year, it should happen. 4 new missions, which will be very challenging. You ask for a challenge, won't go easy on you.
And the next subject of our discussion is our leaderboard events and the rewards. Some players asked in our community channels, but also in the past couple of months, if the global leaderboard rewards could be expanded beyond the top 25, maybe up to top 35 or even top 40 to give more people a shot at those big prizes. What do you say, Mark, about this? Is it possible?
So what we can share about this is that we're planning to introduce an extra bracket for ranks 26 to 50 with something that is considered valuable by anyone participating in the event. So we could look at tier 7 weapons, good weapons. But to set expectations clearly, this won't be in every single leaderboard event. It'll only be in select ones. So basically, you can keep an eye on this and expect them maybe soon.
Players have noticed that the refinement system really changed how we look at weapons and progression. That also raises the question, will crates themselves be updated to reflect these changes? I think, Mark, you also have the answer for us.
Actually, yes. I mean, we're actually in the middle of revising crate design, especially since the refinement system has changed the way players are progressing with their weapons. So the goal here is to make sure that the crates feel more in line with the new system. So they continue to provide meaningful value to all players that are engaging with our systems.
And of course, there are also some fresh experiences on the horizon, and we have some special classified intel on this. A lot of players keep asking about enemy variety. Are there plans to bring new types of zombies into the game? And if so, how close are we to seeing them? I remember we had this discussion last year, but maybe we can dive a bit more deeper into this subject. What do you say, Nick, Mike?
I mean, we've had these discussions internally about new zombies, and I think we definitely want to, but at least currently, let's say we're kind of in a lot of technical stuff. So there are things that has to be solved just so the game can continue running, but we're hoping we will get to the exciting parts, the ones that involve gameplay. So yeah, new zombies as well, probably. But yeah, Mike, you can add your stuff here.
Yeah, basically, all of us would like some new zombies, but it's pretty complicated business. We have a couple of ideas floating around about this zombie, that zombie. Would be cool if it does that. You know how it goes. But that generally takes a lot of time and effort. And even though we added 3 zombies in the past couple of years, I feel like the next time we do add something, it should be more polished and better thought out.
And of course, that you cannot do from one day to another, especially when it comes to new mechanics and so on. So that takes the time. And
Yeah, we really want to do something about this eventually. But in order for a new zombie to serve its purpose, it has to be pretty polished.
talking about zombies, their arch enemies are the troops, besides the gunship, of course. But troops often feel like more of a side element compared
Side dish.
a side dish, yeah, compared to the gunship. Are there plans to make them more relevant, to maybe make them a dessert, not a side dish?
Currently, they are a dessert for the zombies, I guess. So we are looking to actually rebalance a couple of them and eventually all of them. We'll be starting off with adjusting the tier 3 troop weapons. We'll also introduce tier 4 troop weapons. So expect more of these to be added to the game eventually, I hope. As for the gameplay part, this is a bit trickier to actually make relevant. We have some ideas which we are currently trying to put into place and see how exactly they work out.
So troops could even play a part in events like defending bases or rescuing civilians.
Yeah, they totally could, and we would like to do that as well. But first we gotta figure it out in the campaign, sort out some gameplay elements for them, have them actually be relevant in different ways depending on their classes, because right now they have 4 classes, but that doesn't really separate them in any meaningful way when choosing your arsenal.
So your aim is to give the players more strategic options in how they use their troops, let's say.
Yes, exactly. That's my intentions. As for their looks, I think Sophie can chip in here because we want to revamp them a bit.
Yeah, maybe something that includes a new model, maybe some interesting AI behavior. I mean, that's what we're aiming for, what we wish for.
Yeah, we would like to refresh them a bit, bring them more into the modern time, let's say. As far as the visuals are concerned, I am currently working on some things to make them a bit more appealing, a bit more refreshed, while it might not make a difference when it comes to gameplay. I think it will make a difference in the UI and in the general feel of the game.
All right. Thank you for all your answers. But before we go offline, it's time for the surprise questions. I've got a couple prepared for you. Hope you don't mind. And of course, if you've got any surprise questions for each other, this is your chance to throw them in. So for Sophie and Mark, since Nick and Mike already tackled this one in the first episode, I want to ask you the same question because this one is, when it comes to zombies, we have many crazy ideas. So Sophie, Mark, this one's for you. If you could dream up a totally crazy new type of zombie, something wild that probably won't be implemented, what would it be? Sophie, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Yeah, a lot of options here, but I think I will go with the type of zombie that corrupts one of your troops and turns that troop against the others. That would be interesting to me. Yeah.
Oh, how would this zombie look like?
It would probably shoot some kind of poison. It's as far as I went. Something very poisony, something very
Slimy, maybe.
slimy. And
What about you, Mark?
So my dream zombie. Well, it needs to be totally different as a mesh, as a character model from the rest. And what I'm thinking about is maybe something that you could see in The Thing, the horror movie. So it's like a creeping mass, something that basically is empowered by all the zombies that are already on the battlefield dying. So the more zombies that you kill, the more you empower that creeping mass. And basically you need to prioritize that as a target and not leave it on the battlefield too much, because it at some point it will become unstoppable. So yeah, for me it would be this type of creeping mass type of zombie that is empowered by other zombies dying when he's on the battlefield. And yeah, maybe we'll try to do something.
These ideas, maybe these ideas aren't so crazy after all. Who knows?
Sophie's idea is crazy.
Nick and Mike, I haven't forgot about you.
We should have.
Sorry, my fault. But I didn't. So, let's say Riley ran the ZGS universe for a day. What's the very first rule she'd enforce in the ZGS universe? Who'd like to start?
I can start maybe. I think she definitely make a rule so that the supplies aren't useless somehow. Maybe use them for boosting your weapons within another system. What do you think, Nick? Probably something similar as I'd expect of you.
I mean, yes, but I don't know. I'll go more on the narrative side, perhaps, rather than the gameplay. And I'd say that, I don't know. I think of Riley as this character that sort of doesn't want to waste things. That where others go around the wasteland and they see trash or garbage, she sees opportunity. So she's very gifted in this sense of repurposing things and improving them, perhaps using what others would see as junk to create something beautiful, let's say. So I think if she could set the rules, let's say, of the universe, she'd hope that maybe people would be less wasteful. I don't know, kind of like recycling maybe, but not necessarily that. Yeah, I like to think that she would be the kind of person that would look out into the wasteland and think so much stuff out there that people threw away that we could use now, but it's too dangerous to go and get them. So yeah, that's the way I kind of see it.
So, Sophie, is this true? Is it something that Riley would do? What do you say?
I think so. Yeah. It definitely coincides with her personality. Yeah, and I was just thinking that in this narrative we could easily add like a recycling logo to her T-shirt. So.
Any other surprise questions if you have for each other? I don't know. Maybe you want to surprise someone here in the podcast with a surprise question.
So, Mike, why so serious?
I mean, I was minding my own business and this girl was on the side of the street. I kind of had to take her in, not like I wanted to race her or something.
I have a question for Mike. How do you always come up with those crazy mechanics for the weapons? I'm honestly fascinated by how many new things you bring to the weapons. So yeah, maybe share a bit about that.
I mean, that's getting pretty complicated, especially that we're closing into 100 weapons with special effects. I just try to come up with new, unique ideas that just somehow feel different and most importantly are difficult to gauge by the player in terms of power. Like say this one is definitely better than the other. That's mainly what I try to do for new tier 8 and tier 5 weapons. But of course there are some obviously stronger weapons than others. I guess I get a lot of inspiration from other games too, and I try to imagine mechanics on the weapons that we have available. It definitely helps that the prototype comes from a tier 5 weapon which already has a gameplay identity, playstyle, weaknesses, strengths. So when I do a prototype, I just try to build up on this or completely detach. There is also the community side of this, where I browse to your comments, suggestions, and sometimes I get inspiration from there. I even made a thread, if you remember, the weapon lab. I read all of that and got a few ideas, and at least one of them made it into the game. So yeah, I guess that pretty much answers it. Keep at it. Thank you for your feedback. Always welcome.
So maybe we'll do a second edition of that weapon lab in the near future.
Yeah, we can try and maybe have some more pertinent prizes.
Pertinent is the right word for it.
We could also extend it maybe to visual stuff. If players have skins ideas, certain designs they like, that could also be an avenue.
Maybe we can do a mix to add a new flavor to the whole weapon lab.
Yeah, they usually have ideas for gunship skins, but I guess, yeah.
Do you have any other surprise questions?
I have one because I think this one might be a fan favorite in general, and I think it's a nice one that helps the people watching, listening to the podcast, get to know better the people working for the game. So this is a question for everyone. What is your favorite game? You're only allowed to pick one. And what game are you currently playing? So who'd like to start? Mark?
Oh, that's a tough one. And I might, if I answer this, you might get a glance at my age. So, because I'm pretty old. So I think my favorite game might be actually Elder Scrolls Morrowind. So yeah, it's an old school RPG, something that was basically a Bethesda product before they were getting worse. I shouldn't say that. Okay. But now, what I'm currently playing, 2 mobile gacha games, because I like collecting heroes. So yeah, this is my bane of my life. I guess I'm spending money collecting all the heroes. And basically this is what I do.
My favorite game, my all-time favorite game is the Mass Effect trilogy. I would replay it happily anytime, and I have replayed it a lot of times. And can I also add The Witcher, please? I know that we're only supposed to say one game, but I have to mention The Witcher. The last thing I played was Path of Exile. And I played it quite a bit, and Paladins before it got ruined, sadly. I'm pretty sad about that still. But yeah, anyway, I am looking into Overwatch now. Maybe I'll give Overwatch a try. Yeah.
So my favorite game is a very old school RPG. Yeah, Gothic. You've probably heard of Gothic. Yeah. Not much to say there. If you play it, you'll understand. Or if you played it at the time, product of its time, I guess. And what I'm playing right now is Hollow Knight, because I want to play the second game, Hollow Knight Silksong, but I don't want to play it without playing the first game, so here we are. Dependency. Yeah, so the question is, who will go next?
I mean, I can go and leave Astro for last, since he's the great host. So my favorite game is probably the Persona series, mainly Persona 5 and 4. As for what I'm currently playing right now, not playing much. Some Path of Exile 2 from time to time. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I get some weapon ideas from there. And you might wonder how, because the game is completely different from ours. But that's just how it works. And now, your turn, Astro. The zombie host.
Yes, as for the zombie, I'm the only zombie in this group here. Rar. Well, my favorite game I've been playing almost for 20 years is World of Warcraft. I played it since it launched, and I played it almost every year. I had some breaks because it was it was too much at times, and I couldn't participate at raiding times every weekend, especially when I was a student back then. Yeah, I had to go to parties as well. And yeah, now I'm playing an older game, but I still enjoy it. It's Battlefield 1. I enjoy the graphics, enjoy everything. It has a nice community around it. And yeah, that's it. And with that, we'll call it a wrap on episode 2 of the ZGS podcast. Big thanks to Sophie, Mark, Mike, and Nick for joining.
Thank you for having us.
It was a pleasure.
And fun times. And to all of you in the community for sending in your questions. So, until next time, keep your gunships ready and your bases defended. We'll see you in the skies. Bye-bye.